Well, a very warm welcome to Spireites Extra Time. Apologies that this is a delayed episode from at least a couple of weeks ago. Liam and I made the inexplicable decision to go on a brief respite. I went to Portugal, and Liam went to Germany, and many drinks were had, I'm sure. But in the meantime, there's been 3 wins out of 4. And won a spectacular loss, which I was at, and Liam was fortunate not to be at. Yeah, exactly. Welcome, and I hope you're well, Liam, as well.
I'm back fighting fit again. I was in a bad way last week. I was very, very rough, but I'm back to match fitness again.
Very good, very good, and that was a good win on Saturday. Well, let's just a brief recap about what happened against Newport. You were there, I wasn't. I watched it though. Um, First 10 minutes, from we look at that, Newport could have gone at least a goal up, couldn't they?
Yeah, it seems well. It is a couple of weeks ago. It seems even longer than that now.
Mm.
But I think the main takeaway from that game is the goals that Chesterfield scored. The quality of them in particular was fantastic. Probably some of the best goals that they've scored this season, and the fact that Newport came and had a go. They didn't really, in parts of their game, probably going forward, they didn't look like a team who were struggling down at the bottom. But then in other parts, you could clearly see why. They were probably a
Yeah,
bit naive. I think they've got quite a young team
yeah.
and an inexperienced coach, haven't they? David Hughes from ex-Man United, coach in the academy. So yeah, they came and had a go, and that probably played into Chesterfield's hands. And it probably wasn't a 4-1 sort of hammering. If you saw the scoreline, you probably think that was a bit of a thrashing, but it was 2-0 with 10 minutes to go, and that's probably a more accurate reflection. I think it was just petering out to a comfortable and deserved 2-0 win, and then Newport's goal sort of sparked Chesterfield back into life again, and they
Mm.
managed to add two more. So yeah, it wasn't a sparkling sort of performance, but yeah, they scored some good goals. It was a deserved victory, and a little bit of credit for Newport for what was a bit of a rarity in that they came and had a go.
Yeah, I mean that's right. That always plays into Chesterfield's hands, doesn't it? When the sides have a ding dong battle with them, isn't it? But what one thing delighted me was obviously not just Will Grigg's first goal of the campaign, but the cross from Liam Mandeville, the assist.
Mm.
It's been something that we haven't seen much this season. Getting the balls in the box early for Will Grigg to run onto, and this time with his head, and it was a powerful header into the corner, wasn't it? And that really made me the game. That 3 points was just about that. I thought it's such a simple goal, isn't it?
Mm.
But it's I think they touched on it post game. It's something that they've been working on, hadn't they, to get the balls in the box quickly.
Yeah, I think it's something we've all been calling for, isn't it? That the fact that they do get themselves into some dangerous positions, but they don't cross the ball enough.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, Will Grigg just sort of guided it in, didn't he? Guided it into the bottom corner, glanced off his head. That was his first goal of the season as well. So I know he's got a little bit of an injury now, but hopefully when he comes back, he can get back on the scoring trail. Keeps up Liam Mandeville's impressive, goal contributions record as well. Goals and assists, and obviously that's continued in future weeks as well. But yeah, it was a really pleasing goal.
Yeah. I mean, I think Mandeville's joining Dylan Duffy, isn't he, as the assists column rack
Mm.
up, aren't they? Really, I think.
Yeah.
Dylan Duffy, by the way, may be available for the early team news, but they may be available for Saturday. Um, uh, so yeah, and then they just finished the job off, didn't they? Really, with a fine goal from Ronan Darcy, really nice little
Yeah,
chip, isn't it? And I've forgotten the fourth goal. Who was it
yeah.
that got that one?
Let's have a little look. That was a really good goal over the Darcy one because it was
Yeah.
Naylor sort of punches a pass beyond sort of Newport's midfield. There was a lovely slide ball from Dobra, and Ronan Darcy with a little run and clip over the keeper, and that was quite an interesting interview afterwards from Kieran Dyer talking about how he'd sort of joined in training,
Mm.
and that was something that he noticed that Chesterfield sort of flair players don't make those runs often enough. They don't make those penetrating runs behind opposition back lines, and that was something that he didn't pick up on sort of standing on the touchline. But as he got an opportunity to join in training because there was a little injury, and after 5 minutes, he sort of realised this is half the problem is that people aren't penetrating behind opposition defences. So that was a really satisfying goal from their point of view because that's
Yeah.
something that he picked up on and something that they'd worked on.
And it works, yeah. Nice goal from Will Dixon as well for the second one as well, wasn't it? A little run, wasn't it, that he made? And he had the decision to pass the ball, but like strikers should do, be a bit selfish on occasions, and a fine finish into the corner as well from promising signs from Dixon. As we touched on before, he doesn't really look like a natural 20-year-old. He's got a bit of a baby face, but he's
Yeah.
built really, really strongly, isn't he?
Yeah, he just picked up the ball in his own half, didn't he? He just kept going and going and going, and just Newport didn't engage, and he decided to chop inside and kept his cool to find the bottom corner. Even though it was all Will Dixon's work, Liam Mandeville can claim the assist for that one as well
Yeah.
because it was him who actually passed it to him on the edge of the
So weird.
box. So
Yeah.
yeah, he could add that one to his assist charts. But yeah, he's definitely you can see why he's in the Manchester City academy. Technically he's not going to struggle. You're not in the City academy, are you? If
No.
you can't do that. And yeah, he's got a big physical presence about him. It's just about him, just about playing games, getting minutes, getting experience, and hopefully he can chip in with a few goals and assists and help the team.
Dylan Marcandy got the fourth, of course, and he cutting in from the
That
right
was
with his left-footed shot. Perhaps thought that Newport should have done a bit better with that. I think he was shaping up for that shot for just about forever, wasn't he? Really, and yeah, so he eventually got the goal, and that was just the icing on the cake, really, wasn't it?
yeah. He's not had the season we thought he was going to have so far, has he? But
No.
and we will come on to it as well because he did play well against Salford. So there are some encouraging signs there. I don't know. I think they've said he's lacking a bit of confidence, a little bit. He just seems to like beat himself at times. He's
Mm-mm.
trying to almost score like the perfect goal or the perfect dribble, and maybe having too many touches, and he just seems to get the ball caught under his feet. Yeah, he just needs to another goal, doesn't he? Or looking at his performance on Saturday, as I say, we'll come to. There are some promising signs there, but yeah, in the first part, he's probably not hit the heights that we thought he would.
No, yeah, I agree with that. So that was 3 points over them. Important then to get the result going forward. 3 points against Newport. You got to put the sides away that are down there at the foot of the table. So they did that. So they went to a side who hadn't won at home since April, who drawn a lot of games. They drew the most games in League Two last season. Going into the game against Colchester, Colchester had drawn say 5 games already in the campaign, the same amount as Walsall and another club whose name escapes me. So they struggled to put sides away, did Colchester.
Mm.
Having said that as well, I mean it was a very windy day, but that's nothing against the performance of Chesterfield. It was awful. They were completely outran in the Bills. I don't know if you've watched it back. You might have seen the goals, Liam, but
I
if
have
you
seen the highlights. I was going to
yeah,
say it's probably best if I ask you the
yeah,
what happened on this one because, like I say, I was away on a stag do, and obviously you get caught up in other things, and you sort of forget what time it is. And
yeah,
one of the lads on the trip said, "Oh, Chesterfield have conceded 6," and I was just started laughing, thinking it was just joking. And then I've looked at my phone, and I was really surprised at the scoreline. I mean, I think if someone had said Chesterfield have lost at Colchester, maybe wouldn't have been that surprised because I do think they've got that softness still in them. But yeah, to concede 6, that's really bad, isn't it? And the goals that they concede as well are very avoidable, aren't they? But yeah, maybe you could talk about that in more detail. What you felt, what it felt like on the day.
Well, it started with I think Paul Cook admitting really that he'd picked the wrong team because he started with John Fleck away from home. Sometimes when you get sides that are wanting to harry you, and
Mm,
Fleck likes time on the ball, and he likes a bit of space, doesn't he, to move into. He can get himself out of little areas, just with his quality. But at times, so he felt that he was getting a bit overrun in midfield, him and Sturk. And it got a bit frustrating for them. I feel, the opening they just bombarded Chesterfield with first and foremost from the right hand side. Lisby, the son of
mm,
Kevin Lisby, was excellent, running down the right hand wing. He had Harry Anderson on the left hand side and Mbeek up front, who was only 18 years old on loan from Charlton. But those three caused Chesterfield numerous amount of problems, especially the midfielders, Teddy Bishop and the other lad as well. I can't quite remember, but they were excellent in midfield. They harried Chesterfield every time. It was the high press that Chesterfield always fear when a side comes against them, stopping them from doing what they do. And the only time that Chesterfield did manage to get time on the ball was when Colchester switched off when they were 2 up and Chesterfield managed to get back into the game to make it 2-1 from Liam Mandeville. But then that gave them a wake up call. There was another 20 minutes went by when Colchester were harrying again and could have scored a couple more. They eventually got two before the break. But Paul Cook, after 10, 15 minutes, when he looked at the side that were 2-0 down, he looked at the bench and saw Carl McFadden and Tom Naylor there and said, I picked the wrong team. So,
mm.
Jamie Grimes played, John Fleck played, like I said. He admitted to that. So, maybe that says a lot about who's going to play away from home rather than at home.
Mm,
And to be fair, Colchester were excellent. Apparently, Danny Cowley said that they'd threatened that in the first half against Fleetwood the week before. In 45 minutes, said it was the best 45 minutes he's seen. This, he said, it was the best 90 minutes he's seen under his stewardship. Um, and they were excellent. They were really, really good. Chesterfield didn't really trouble them in the second half. And again, when you're pushing forward trying to get a goal, even though it's 4-1, you know, I mean, they didn't make subs really till the sort of hour mark, 65th minute. I think he just felt that like there's no point in making them because the 4-1 down, it's going to be hard to get 3 goals. So
looking at his comments, it sort of read as if like he wanted to send the same players out again for the second half as a bit
yeah,
of a punishment, as if to say, you've got us in this mess. You can go and try and get us out of it, rather
yeah,
than, because I'm sure if he could have changed the whole team, he would have done.
yeah,
But it felt like he was sort of making a point that, you've got us in this hole. You've got to get us out.
yeah,
I mean, obviously I wasn't there, so you're looking at the scoreline, you're thinking, 2-1 just before half time. Will Grigg goes off injured.
yeah,
You know, you'd sort of think, right, get in at half time. You've had a bad half, but you're still in the game. You could still get a point. You could still even go on and win it. But then just to go and concede two before, right on the stroke of half time, just really must have just flattened Chesterfield.
and the fact it was the same. The third goal was the same as the first goal, a whipped in cross from the right hand side,
Mm,
and this time it was Jack Payne who got his second of the game, and then inexplicably there's Sturk brings down a player inside the penalty. It was a soft penalty to give away. It was a
mm,
push. I mean, it was easy as you like, and Jack Payne's got a hat trick before half time. Incredible, from a midfielder who doesn't score that many goals. He'd got a couple that season, but my word, incredible. His first hat trick of his career as well. And you're absolutely right. The dressing room then is absolutely flat, full on your face, aren't you? Really. So what can you do?
How how big was that moment? Will Grigg going off injured? Do you feel like if that had not have happened, or was it coming anyway? Do you feel was it just coincidence that he went off and then they conceded two before half time?
Well, I think they would have conceded anyway. There was individual errors conceded, giving the ball away for the second goal, and giving the ball away for the third as well. They just handed it onto a plate. So I'm not too sure whether it would have made
Fair enough.
any real significant difference defensively, but it certainly limited them going forward. in the attack in the second half. They were by and large non-existent, apart from when James Berry came on with about 20 minutes to go, and he killed that beautiful goal into the corner. An absolute stunner. That may get player of the goal of the season. It was an absolute beauty.
Well, I
And
mean, the first goal that Chesterfield scored is a
yeah,
fantastic
mm,
team goal, isn't it? The way they work it from right to left, then they cross to the far post, the cut back, and the way that Manival sweeps it in. That is what they can do. And again, and we saw from James Berry, that was a trademark goal from him, wasn't it? And I think if someone had said to me, "You're going to score 2 goals today away at Colchester," I'd have said, "Well, just we're going to win then, or they're at least going to
yeah,
get a point." Do you know what I mean? Because you wouldn't really fancy Colchester to
no.
be that high scoring. I mean, I was going to say that they were clinical, but looking at the highlights, it could have been almost double figures had it not been for Zach Hemming with a few saves as well.
Man of the match. So man of the match in some quarters as well. So I think in the in-house radio as well, he got man of the match and deservedly so. He pulled off some absolute stunning saves. But Chesterfield, it was just fleeting moments away from home, and they've got to learn that you've got to battle even harder sometimes away from home than you have at home. Because sides are going to come at you. Even sides without a good record as Colchester didn't have, but they had something in them that day and to be fair, Danny Cowley said exactly this is what we're going to do in his pre-match interview. He said this is how you play against a side like Chesterfield. In so many ways, obviously you've got to go out and get the players to do the job. And that's what he said that they would do. And it was just that I think what was frustrating was the simplicity of the goals that Colchester scored. And that was one of the most frustrating parts. And you could sense that Paul Cook was frustrated after the game. Um, Obviously, I didn't get a chance to speak to him. I got a chance to speak to Paddy Byrne. And he was really down, Paddy Byrne, as well. So it wasn't just them as players. And everybody was thought, well, this is how far have we got here? And Cook, I think Cook mentioned that like he still reiterates that this is a work in progress. In not so many words, he said, "We've got 11 good players, or we've got a good load of players. I've got really good players, and I'll back them to the hilt. But at the minute, we're not a good team."
Mm.
So, but I mean, how quickly a week can change from that, though, because two
I
good
was
wins in the
I was going
next
to
six
say
weeks.
there was a couple of sort of standout quotes from his interview after the Colchester game with 1866, weren't there? He said,
Mm,
I think the first one is he said in-house problems, which I think people I can understand why, but they sort of took that and ran off with it, and it basically what he was trying to say is we've got some issues, but I'm going to solve them behind closed doors, and I'm not going to tell every other opposition manager
yeah,
what our problems are because obviously he said in-house problems, and that makes it sound like there's things going wrong behind the scenes.
yeah,
You're like off-field matters, but what he actually meant was we've got some problems, but I'm going to solve them. I'm not going to tell you what they are. I think that's the first sort of point to make.
mm,
And then the other one was he said, "I'm not hammering," which basically he was saying he's not Ruben Amorim. He will change. If
oh,
he's
okay,
not,
got
he's
you.
not the Manchester United manager who sticks to his 3-4-2-1
Three,
formation,
three,
yeah,
yeah,
three
yeah.
four three, whatever it is, and he's going to stick, and he hasn't got the players to play it. I thought that was interesting that he said, I will change, because I think a lot of people have sort of questioned whether he would do that, and obviously we have seen in the last 2 games that they have changed a little bit. They have not drastically, but they have tweaked. So there are a couple of standout comments in there that I took away from that.
And yeah, you're right. They have seen the last next 2 games, and I mean, how important was it just to get? How important was that to game on the Tuesday after that, and to get going again? He made numerous changes. I think he made 10, didn't he,
Mm.
from the weekend's game against Burton, and gave some players that hadn't had a run out for a while, and some legs, and he saw. Will Dixon start up front, I think, didn't he? On his top
Mm.
to start with, just giving him chance to play the number 9 role for a while, didn't he? And Chesterfield saw less of the ball, didn't they? I think it was in that
Mm.
respect, and they were sort of like allowing Burton to have a bit. You have a bit of the ball for a change. Let's see what you can do, and let's
Mm.
see if we can pick you off and whatnot. I think. It was a very sleepy 45 minutes, though,
Oh
wasn't it, the
God,
first half?
it was bad, wasn't it? It was so boring.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong. It was exactly what, and it was the same sort of on Saturday, that it was the exact sort of performance that Chesterfield needed.
yeah,
They gave up possession a little bit. They were well organised. Their attitude towards the games. I think that's something Paul Cook's spoken about after the Crew game. He said they didn't approach it in the right manner. Well, they did. They did against Burton. Even if they would have lost, the attitude, the work rate, it was there. But yeah, I mean, just nothing happened at all, did it? In terms of entertainment, it was very, very low. I don't think they were bringing a DVD out of that one
no,
anytime soon. But yeah, it never has an EFL Trophy group game in front of 1,300 people on a Tuesday night been more important to a team's season than that one. Because if
yeah.
Chesterfield now go on a bit of a run, come the end of the season, we might all be looking back at that game against Burton Albion and saying that was the game changer, that was the turning point.
Well, indeed, and it followed them up with a good performance on Saturday. I know Lee Bonis, he got the goal, didn't he? He needed it in, he could have handled it in or whatever, but he got the goal, and I'm pleased for him as well because he needs to, as a striker, you want to start scoring, and he got the most important goal, which was, I think, the takeout really from that game was that they got the win, they got the job done, and they're still in weirdly and with a chance of qualifying for the knockout stages somehow, despite getting pummeled at Crewe earlier on in the campaign. So hope springs eternal with that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you'd imagine they probably are going to go through now. They're going to be playing a young Liverpool side.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, win that, and they're probably going to go through. But it's not a priority, is it? But I suppose the longer you go on in the competition, maybe you start to take it a little bit more seriously. But I think it'll still be used as a competition for minutes with players who haven't played as much, and players who are coming back from injury. But Wembley, here we come then.
Indeed, yeah, yeah. Let's just park that for a little while, shall we? For a little bit. You're right though. Liverpool in the 21's coming up next month in the final group game of the northern section in the Virtue Trophy, and then to back it up against a tricky game against a side that are there or thereabouts with you in Salford City. They'd done really well to start the campaign, but they'd lost the last couple of games or three league games coming into the Chesterfield game. And again, it wasn't Chesterfield at its sparkling best, as
No.
we've barely seen this season. Um, but it was a different side to Chesterfield, and one that I actually quite like, actually, one that
Yeah.
mixed it up a bit. The Chesterfield two centre halves, and in your piece as well, on the Derbyshire Times website, said that those were the two best players, and that's with the difference between the game, winning the game and getting the 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, in the first half, it was very competitive. I thought it
Mm,
was there was probably like a half chance or two for each side. As I'm driving towards the game, I just thought I've got no idea what to expect today.
mm.
Archer's going to come out full guns blazing and put in the performance which we know they can do and score 3 or 4. Is it going to be a bit like last season where it was a 1-1 home draw against Salford, wasn't it? With 10 men, they had 10 men and scored late. A bit of a frustrating, dull sort of draw. Or are Salford going to come and throw the kitchen sink at Chesterfield and exploit all their weaknesses and go away with a handsome away win themselves? So I'm sort of driving towards the stadium, not really knowing what to expect. But yeah, it was a competitive first half, probably one or two half chances each. Obviously, probably the highlight was the referee going off injured, wasn't he? And
Yeah.
after some of his early decision making. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the stats, even at the end of the game, they're quite even. It's something like 52 to 48% possession, 10 shots each. Just got a few more on target, but I still think it was only like 3-1 shots on target. So there wasn't much in it really at all. And I think, like I say, if you listen back to Carl Robinson's interview, it's probably, I know people like to have a little dig at him, but he's not far off of his assessment really, in that they concede a goal from a corner. they hit the post, they have a penalty shout, and then they concede one on the counter attack when they're chasing the game. Really wasn't that much in it, but it's exactly the sort of performance that Chesterfield needed. They were disciplined, they were organised. They didn't give anything away. It's like I say, Salford didn't really have a sniff themselves. Yeah, Chesterfield could have created more, but I think if you were a Chesterfield fan turning up to that game on Saturday, you would have wanted to see your team be hard to beat.
Mm.
We know that they can score goals. That's not going to be a problem across the season. It might be in little spells of games, but across the season, that's not going to be a problem. They'll be up there among the highest scorers in the league again. You wanted to see your team not be a soft touch and be hard to beat and just head and kick and win the duels and run. And all of a sudden, they've now got back-to-back clean sheets, haven't they?
Yeah.
And that's what Danny Webb said after the game, didn't it? Isn't a week a long time in football?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, first league clean sheet since the 9th of August. So that was important. I felt that was really that's why I asked to interview Zach Hemming after the game. Actually, I felt that all the forwards get all the credit for scoring the goals, but sometimes it's worth interviewing the goalkeeper, the stopper. It made a very important save in the second half. From Daniel Udo, didn't he? And he got the help of the post, of course, and a little deflection off Dunkley. But my word, if he hadn't been there, Chesterfield could have been talking about a draw, couldn't they? Rather than the 3 points that they ended up getting. So it was just as important to do that. And what they could do with now is sort of backing it up, really. I think with a good performance on home against Fleetwood, which will be another tough game. But one thing I just want to touch on briefly is Chesterfield's change in style. They've dropped the possession stats down to about level with the opposition. And you see a lot of diagonal balls now, don't you, going into the corners towards Markande, towards not necessarily Dobra on the left-hand side, but the more from towards the right to Markande, the spot that McFadzean can play those balls rather than Dunkley. Why do you think that is?
I think what they've tried to do is probably go back to basics a little bit and play in the opposition's half, which is what we saw in the first couple of games against Barrow and Cheltenham, and they won both games without conceding a goal. And obviously, when you clear a ball upfield, you don't want it coming straight back at you. So rather than pumping it straight down the middle and one of Salford's centre halves just heading it back, you hit it out to the wings towards maybe the full-backs and pick up second balls. You've got a chance of sort of moving up the pitch and keeping it and getting some territory and then playing your football in the final third. Whereas, sometimes you can just sort of find yourself, it just keep coming back at you. So you just keep giving the ball. I mean, I don't think it's not going to be out just for want to play long term. There's no way that Paul Cook wants to play like that in the long run. But they just needed a result, didn't they? And they got it. And they might have to do the same again for a little while till they get a foothold, because there was a little bit of a danger that some of the teams at the top were running, going to get away from them a little bit. But now it looks really tight again. Win on Saturday, and if the results go their way, they could be in the top three. So yeah, they needed to probably stick in there a little bit, and then they'll be able to play that type of football maybe in the second half of the season.
Let's
What
talk.
do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm hoping so, but that they can back it up a bit more consistency. We haven't seen Chesterfield been really consistent, perhaps the first two games of the season. I'd like to see a little more, solidity there. Obviously, he's got to work out now what is his best team, because I'll touch on to now that against Fleetwood is going to be missing Vontae Daly-Campbell, who had an excellent game on Saturday. He's picked up 5 yellow cards. Tom Naylor, who also had an excellent game because he got that early yellow card, and he could have, put himself in real danger in the middle of the park there by getting a second yellow. But he's going to be out suspended. He's got 7 yellow cards this campaign, 5 now in the league. Paul Cook, we understand, has picked up, I think, his 6th yellow card of the season, which could mean a 2-match ban. I haven't had it confirmed or anything. Perhaps you have to wait till Friday for the pre-match presser to find out. But by and large, that should be a 2-match stadium. I'll change that. Touchline ban, not a stadium ban. He's not Mark White. Um, so so yeah, that could be interesting going forward. So as much as Paul Cook does like consistency with his in changes for his side, he's going to be missing two key players on Saturday.
Yeah, yeah, I think, or in an ideal circumstance, we'd probably just pick the same team again that beat Salford. But I think they've got just for a sort of a one-off game, they've got two obvious replacements. Devon Tanson will come in at right back, and I mean they haven't got many other options in central midfield. But
No,
John Fleck's not a bad option to have for like you say, a home game. I think one where they probably are going to have quite a bit of the ball. You'd obviously hope that they don't get any injuries in central midfield now, and that is something I've sort of written in one of my pieces this week, that I think central midfield is a priority for Chesterfield in the January transfer window, because I made the point of sort of at the end of the summer window that I felt they were just maybe one short quality or depth wise. And I think a lot of people sort of said centre back was more the priority, and that was a fair point. I think that's proven to be the case as well. They have had their issues there, but of course they have got a centre back coming in January anyway. But yeah, I think bringing in a quality central midfielder in January could be the difference between them finishing in the top three and finishing in the playoffs. Because I think you've got Matt Dibley-Diaz there, you've got Luke Butterfield, but they're both young players, both got injury issues. John Fleck's minutes will be needed to be managed. We didn't realise that Tom Naylor, I don't think the plan was to play Tom Naylor in central midfield again this season, because in pre-season he just went through it as a
yeah.
backup right-sided centre-back. I don't think, from memory, he actually played that much in pre-season. So I don't think that was the plan. So I don't think they've quite got that balance yet. But yeah, I think they need a really top central midfielder, a physical attribute, someone who get a foot in, good energy, good legs, someone who can let Ryan Sturck do his work, do his job, do his work. And then, yeah, I think that's a priority. I think that could be the difference between top three and playoffs.
And they're playing a Pete Wild side. We're both admirers of Pete Wild, especially when he was
Mm-hmm.
at Halifax. He's a good manager, good young coach, and he's bringing this side to Chesterfield. They've obviously got Ched Evans coming, returning, former Spireites, back with the squad, and James Norwood, who came here,
Yeah.
scored that controversial goal against Oldham 2 seasons ago now, isn't it? So
Mm.
yeah, it was almost September or August time, 2024. So
Yeah.
2023. Sorry.
Mm.
So yeah, it was a bit of a while ago since he did that. So Fleetwood are one of those sides that like to flirt with the top, but generally hang around the middle of League Two
Yeah.
these days, don't they? So not quite got the budget that they used to have.
No, they've got the other striker as well, Will Davis, who I think has scored a few goals this season. I think he had a move to York and it didn't really work out, but he's found his feet at Fleetwood. Well, Chesterfield recorded a comfortable victory over Fleetwood, didn't they, towards the end of last season?
Yeah.
It was one of the more straightforward games, but I think Fleetwood have signed a few players since then. But yeah, Chesterfield just need a result. If it's a scrappy 1-0, it's a scrappy 1-0. Everyone will take it. They need exactly the sort of same performance and probably more. Again, going on what we've said there, I think Fleetwood are a team who play two up front. So Chesterfield centre backs, Dunkley and McFadzean, if they're on it again, and I think everyone was looking at the stats over the weekend to see that they'd won like 90% of their aerial duels. If they come out of the game winning with those sorts of stats, then Chesterfield probably going to win the game again.
Not bad for two players who don't get on, according to social media reports, isn't it?
Mm.
So yeah, they're still up there. So yeah, credit for them for that. And let's touch on Danny Webb, who's returned to the football club
Mm.
for a short stay in one game against Yeovil when he left. But pleased to see him back. He gave us a big hug on Saturday when he saw us. So yeah, nice to see him back as well.
Yeah, he came back with a Somerset accent, didn't he, after his one week down there? But yeah, no, he's been welcomed back, hasn't he, with open arms by everyone. You know, we're pleased to see him back. Obviously, didn't work out for him down there. You know, he's not really in a position to talk about the reason why just yet, but that might come out later on down the line.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just settled back into to the coaching team as was previously, and business as usual, isn't it?
Yeah, business as usual. I think so. He's going to be doing the media interviews as well, isn't he? And Paul Cook will come in when he loses, when Chesterfield lose the game. So how much will Cook be amiss on the touchline? I mean, we've seen it before. I'm trying to look at the records of whether Chesterfield have won. Yes, they won at Harrogate when he wasn't there, didn't they?
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. I'd imagine. I suppose it depends on which side of the pitch you play on. I suppose in terms
yeah.
of if you're on one of the wings, then maybe it'd be nice not to have him in your ear so much every now and again. But yeah, they won at Harrogate, and it gives. I suppose it must give you as a manager a different perspective. You know, a different view of the game. You sort of take yourself out of the emotion of it in terms of the opposition bench and the referee and the fourth official, and you're just concentrating on the game, and you're feeding your instructions down to your backroom staff. You know, a lot of managers used to do it. You know, Big Sam Allardyce,
Big
didn't he?
Sam.
He
Mm.
used to go and watch the game from the stand or the first half or something like that. You know, a few managers used to go up there, and I can sort of see why you would do as well.
Like I remember John Duncan used to do it as well. He wasn't too far away at Saltergate, so obviously the director's box was just a little walk down the fire exit to the touchline. So he wasn't that bad, but he was a little bit higher up that he used to do it. So yeah, it's a different perspective. So yeah, Fleetwood then Saturday. Just for hoping to keep up their good work going forward, especially with wins at home. And I think it's important, isn't it, to if you want to have a promotion push, to utilise your home form and use that as a barometer of trying to finish in the top three.
Yeah, and to be fair, you know, I know it's probably been a bit of an inconsistent start to the season, but they are unbeaten at home, so that is a big plus. You certainly don't want teams thinking that they can turn up and that they can get something. So yeah, it's kind of the same issues as what Chesterfield had last season so far, in that they need to be less of a soft touch away from home. They need to stop conceding so many goals, get some more clean sheets, and need the injuries to clear up a little bit, particularly in central midfield. And yeah, they're sort of the issues that we've spoken about for large parts of last season, aren't they? So hopefully they
Yeah.
can learn, get those lessons learned and crack on.
Yeah, we're a quarter of the way through the season now. It's gone like in a flash,
Mm.
hasn't it? Really. So, yeah, looking forward to the remaining half. It's always good to try and progress going forward. To keep up to date with the latest Chesterfield FC news, just log on to Liam's page as well on the Derbyshire Times website under Chesterfield. It'd be www.derbyshireTimes.co.uk/Chesterfield FC. And Liam will put up some stuff from that. The press conference is usually Friday morning. I don't think it's going to be any different because it's a home game. So Friday morning, so Liam will be have plenty of stuff from that Friday lunchtime. Following on, you'll get audio on the BBC Sounds. If you haven't subscribed, go into BBC Sounds and type in Chesterfield FC, and it'll give you a subscribe button. You'll get everything, every audio that comes through from anybody speaking from Chesterfield's point of view. That's pre and post game as well. And we'll be back with you next week following the Fleetwood game. But apologies for the delay that we've had. Like I say, we've had a sort of mid. We had an international break, haven't we,
Yeah,
Liam? So
winter break.
already. So the livers are recovered and we're back on it again. So thanks for joining us. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends, and we'll try and get as many people watching this as well, especially people as well from Newport, from Salford, and other in Colchester as well, and Fleetwood as well. So thanks very much for watching, and we'll be back next week with you.